Right after our Christmas dinner, I checked my phone and realized my credit card had been charged for all the gifts. Dad looked at me and said, "Dead serious, we took a vote. You don't have kids, so it made sense that you should cover the ones who do." My hands were shaking when I reached for my phone. I looked him in the eye and said, "Oh, you're really gonna love what happens next." He actually chuckled. Thought I was joking. But the very next day, my phone blew up, 53 missed calls. Cousins yelling, mom crying, dad begging me to undo what I'd done. And me? I just sat there, fork hovering halfway to my mouth, staring at the screen like it had personally betrayed me. "You've got to be kidding me," I whispered. I checked my phone under the table that morning, half thinking it was some kind of banking glitch. But nope. There it was, $3,642 charged to my card. And the breakdown? It was all right there. Big box stores. Toy retailers. Random online shops. Every gift under that tree? Bought with my money. I looked around, then asked in a low voice, barely louder than the crinkling wrapping paper and off-key carols playing through the speakers, "Who did this?" Dad didn't even flinch. Just lifted his wine glass like I'd asked him how the turkey turned out. "We voted," he said, like he was delivering the weather report. "You don't have kids, so it seemed fair that you cover the presents this year for the ones who do." I blinked at him, trying to process that kind of logic. He just kept going, calm as ever. "The rest of us are raising kids. You're not. We figured it balanced out." I stared at him, then looked to Mom. She dropped her eyes to her plate real fast. My sister didn't even pretend to notice. She just kept sipping her wine while her twins gleefully tore open Lego sets I apparently paid for. My cousin Jeff gave me this awkward little shrug, like, "Yeah, this is messed up, but I'm not saying anything." I leaned forward and said, "You used my card without even asking? You just decided I'd bankroll Christmas because I don't have kids?" Mom mumbled something like, "You always say you don't mind helping." Helping? I nearly laughed. Helping is when I offer. This was straight up scheming behind my back. Dad shrugged like it was no big deal. "Come on, don't make a scene. It's just money. And you've got enough." I could barely hear him over the rush in my ears, my heart pounding like a drum. I looked around the table, 12 people, and at least half of them hadn't reached out all year unless they needed a favor or wanted to borrow money. And now they just quietly decided I should be their personal holiday sponsor. Like some reward for not having a family of my own. "You're unbelievable," I muttered, pushing back my chair. "Sit down," one of my cousins snapped. "Don't ruin the vibe. The kids are happy." "Oh, I'm not here to ruin anything," I said, pulling my phone out of my pocket. "I'm just here to end the show." Dad looked amused. "What's that supposed to mean?" I locked eyes with him. "It means you're really gonna enjoy what comes next." He laughed. Actually laughed like he thought I was bluffing. Like I didn't have the guts to finally do what I should have done a long time ago. He wasn't laughing the next day. Because by then, I'd already hit send. And there was no walking it back. You don't just wake up one day and suddenly realize your family sees you as a walking ATM. No, it happens slowly. Quietly. Like a leak behind the walls. You don't notice the damage until the whole floor caves in. For me, it started right after college. I landed a job in tech. Nothing crazy, but it was stable, came with benefits and a reliable paycheck. My sister got pregnant at 23 and moved back in with our parents. My cousin Jason bailed on grad school and spent the next 7 years figuring things out. My parents kept saying it was just a rough patch for everyone. And me? I was the one with my act together. That's how they always framed it. "You're doing well. You don't need much," Mom would say with this patronizing little smile. "You're lucky. You should share that luck," Maya once told me as she took a rent check from me for her son. At first, it was little stuff. Backpacks and notebooks for the kids. A tank of gas so someone could get to a job interview. A group birthday gift I didn't even agree to chip in on. But then it became non-stop. When my brother Dan lost his job, I paid his rent for half a year. When cousin Sarah wanted to start her boutique, I covered her Shopify fees and bought her whole first round of inventory. She sold maybe 2 things. Never brought it up again. When Uncle Greg had a health scare with no insurance, guess who handled the hospital bills? Yep. And I didn't complain, at least, not at first. I kept telling myself, this is what family does. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Family doesn't hand you a knife and then thank you for bleeding. They bled me dry. And the worst part? I let them. The absolute kicker? They made it seem like they were doing me a favor. You get to feel good about helping. Your name's on the group card. Come on, don't be so uptight. We're family. No one ever said thank you. Not once. Not for the money, not for the time, not even for the emotional labor. And believe me, it was more than just covering the bill, it was the energy, the planning, the late night runs, the being on call for every little thing. I was the go-to guy. The backup babysitter. The one they listed as the emergency contact without ever asking. The one who got called whenever something needed fixing, solving, or funding. One Christmas Eve, I was down bad with the flu, shivering, feverish, completely out of it. I texted my mom to say I couldn't come. Her response? Okay, but can you still send the gifts? The kids are counting on you. I sat there on my bathroom floor, wrapped in a blanket, my head spinning, and I remember thinking, is this really the only time they remember me? When there's a price tag attached? But the moment it really sank in, the one that set this whole unraveling in motion, came about 3 months before that Christmas dinner. I had taken my niece to a bookstore one Saturday. Told her, pick out whatever you like. She was over the moon. $1.50 later, she had art kits, 2 hardcover books, and a giant stuffed sloth she instantly named Slumpy. She was beaming. And honestly, I felt good too. Until I brought her home. My sister glanced at the sloth and asked, "Where's that from?" I told her, smiling, she picked it out at the bookstore. Her face changed. "You're spoiling her," she said flatly. "You think you're the fun uncle just because you've got money?" I froze. "What?" She scoffed, not even looking at me. "Try spending less on toys and more on a personality." It hit me like a gut punch. I had just given my weekend, my life, to spend time with her daughter. I could have been out resting, dating, living my own life. Instead, I gave that time to her kid. And all I got in return was a snide insult, like being generous made me some kind of joke. That was the moment the mask slipped, not hers. Mine. I finally saw them for what they were. Takers. Disguised as family. Masters of guilt-tripping. They didn't respect me. Hell, I'm not even sure they like me. I wasn't their brother, cousin, or son, I was their budget plan. Then came December. The family group chat started buzzing in mid-November about Christmas plans. As usual, it was just assumed I'd host again. That I'd cover the gifts. That I'd step into the role of Santa Claus, just with a higher spending limit. This time, I told myself, I was gonna say no. I meant it, too. But then my dad messaged me privately. "You're really good at this stuff," he said. "Why don't you just handle the gifts again? We'll settle up later." Settle up? They'd never settled up. Not last year. Not ever. So I wrote back, short and firm, "Only if we agree in advance who's paying." He read the message. And then? Radio silence. 3 weeks went by. Nothing. I thought maybe the message had landed. Maybe they finally got it. Nope. Instead, they used my backup card, one I had given to my mom years ago for emergencies. Turns out, she'd never thrown it away. Worse? She'd passed the number around. I found charges from 5 different stores, none of them anywhere near where she lives. She hadn't bought anything. They had bought everything. And when I brought it up at dinner, they laughed. I swear to God, they laughed. Dad, glass of wine in hand, looked me straight in the eye and said, "We voted. You don't have kids, so you should pay for the ones who do." Like it was logical. Like this was a democracy and I had somehow lost a fair vote. Like I didn't even have the right to say no. And that's when it hit me. They truly believed it. In their minds, I existed to make their lives easier. Not having kids meant I somehow owed a debt to them. My peace? Optional. My time? Negotiable. My bank account? Open season. So when I stood up and said, "You're really gonna love what comes next," they didn't blink. Dad actually laughed. Because to him, I was bluffing. I always was. That night, I didn't sleep. But not from guilt, not anymore. I wasn't fully in fight mode yet, but I wasn't scared either. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, running through every insult, every unspoken rule, every moment they made me feel small for not living their version of a real life. Having kids. Struggling. Going broke. That made them honorable. Me? I was just disposable. But by the time the first rays of sunlight lit up my ceiling, something in me shifted. The fear, the hesitation, it all drained out like poison. And what replaced it wasn't just anger. It was clarity. They wanted to treat family like a democracy? Fine. Let's have a vote. I opened my laptop. Took a breath. Subject line, holiday contribution changes. Body. Effective immediately, I am stepping away from all financial contributions involving our extended family. This includes, but is not limited to, Christmas gifts, birthday presents, for kids or adults, tuition help, mortgage bailouts, emergency transfers, or any random charge for a vet bill, car issue, or forgotten subscription. If you've already spent money using my cards, prepare for a chargeback. If you've saved or shared my financial info without consent, expect to hear from a lawyer. You voted. I'm voting back. Merry Christmas. The childless 1 inch. And then I hit send. To everyone. Every single name in that family group chat. My parents. My sister. All 6 cousins. Even my aunt, the one who still claims I owe her for babysitting me once when I was 4. Then, I shut off my phone. It took them exactly 7 hours and 16 minutes to crack. When I finally powered it back on, my phone lit up like a war zone. Vibrating, ringing, dinging like it had caught fire in my hand. 53 missed calls. Voicemails. Sobbing. Screaming. Cousins threatening lawsuits for emotional damage. Like I was the villain here. A text from my mom that started with, "I'm heartbroken," and ended with, "This is beyond disappointing." And my dad? He called 12 times. His final voicemail? Just one line. "Please, for the love of God, don't do this." But it was already done. Because by the time they were reading those texts and leaving those voicemails, I had already spoken to my bank. The fraud claim? Approved. Over $3,600 in unauthorized charges flagged. Barbie dream houses? Nerf rifles? On hold. Christmas iPads? Returned to sender. And that old emergency card I stupidly left active? Frozen. Later that night, my cousin Sarah tried to book a hotel. Declined. Twice. The fallout? Nuclear. The next day, my uncle, one of the few who never asked for a dime, but never stood up for me either, called me. His voice was low. Hesitant. "Your mom's in tears," he said. "She says you ruined Christmas." I didn't even blink. "No," I said. "They ruined it when they turned it into a transaction." "They were overwhelmed," he mumbled. "No," I cut in. "They were entitled. There's a difference." There was a pause. Then he asked quietly, "You're really charging them all back?" "Already did." He sighed. "Well, I can't say they didn't have it coming." Click. That was the last civil message I got for days. Then came the showdown. 3 days later, I pulled into my driveway after work and saw them waiting. Mom, Dad, and my sister Rachel, arms crossed, jaw clenched, looking like she just chewed on a car battery. My mom's voice shook. "Can we talk?" I unlocked my door. "Say what you came to say." She rushed in. "We didn't mean for it to go that way. We just thought." "What?" I snapped. "That I'd roll over and pay up again? That I'd smile through being robbed blind and call it holiday cheer?" Dad stepped in, trying to be the peacekeeper. "Son, let's not make this a war. We're family." I laughed. "Hard. You declared war the second you used my card without permission and called it voting. That wasn't family. That was betrayal." Rachel rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, are you still on about this? We didn't drain your entire savings." "I paid for your car," I shouted. "Because you couldn't drive to work with a cracked windshield. You said you'd pay me back." She actually snorted. "You make 6 figures. You'll survive." I stepped closer. "And that right there is exactly why this ends now. You all treat me like I'm just a walking ATM that sometimes brings a casserole." My mom's eyes welled up. "We just wanted the kids to have a good Christmas. So you stole from me?" Dad's tone shifted, hard, sharp. "Enough. This has gone too far. Fix it. Undo the chargebacks. Right now." I stared at him and said nothing. So he tried another angle. "Think about how this looks," he said, voice darkening. "What do you want people to say? That you betrayed your family over a few toys?" I didn't even blink. "No. I want them to say I finally grew a spine." Then I said the words that broke everything. "I'm done with all of you. I've already blocked your numbers. And as of this weekend, I'm moving to another state. Alone." The silence was beautiful. I opened my front door. "Now get off my porch." The next 48 hours? Bliss. No calls. No texts. No guilt wrapped in family concern. No sudden financial emergencies I was supposed to fix. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anyone's weight but my own. I sat on my living room floor with coffee and music and just breathed. No one expected a bailout. No one was waiting for me to save the day. I wasn't Santa. I wasn't a sidekick. I was me. But I knew them. I knew how they worked. Silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. By day 3, they started creeping back in. "Can we talk like adults? Your mom's sick from all this stress. You happy now? The kids keep asking why Uncle Ghost doesn't call anymore." I saw the messages. I didn't reply. Because none of them missed me. They missed what I gave. But then something happened I didn't expect. A message. From Jason, my cousin. I screwed up. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer. An hour later, he was on my doorstep. And he looked different. Not the usual Jason. No hoodie. No half-lidded sarcasm. He looked put together. Hair combed. Jacket. Watch. Like a guy who'd finally decided to show up on purpose. He looked like he was trying out a new costume, functional brother. "I enrolled in some online courses," he said. "Marketing. I'm working with a friend now. Trying to get it together. For real." I didn't say a word. He hesitated, then added quietly. I was jealous of you. That caught my attention. That's why I lashed out, he said. You had your life. No chaos. No kids. No constant noise. And I hated that. I tilted my head. You here for money? His eyes snapped up, wide. No. No, I just came to say I'm not your shadow anymore. For a moment. I almost believed him. He left. 30 minutes later, I got a bank alert. Someone was trying to reset access to my online account. Guess who? Jason. He hadn't changed. He'd never meant to. He wasn't sorry, he was scouting. Checking if I still believed their tears. I locked down everything. Every password. Every card. Every access point. Called my bank. Again. That was the last time anyone from my family ever got that close to my life. And then came freedom. I ended my lease. Accepted a job in a different state, higher pay, bigger challenges, 0 relatives within 400 miles. But the best part? Wasn't the new salary. Or the skyline view from my new apartment. It was a message from Kelly, Jason's wife. I saw what he did. I'm filing for divorce. And, thank you. You were the only one who ever actually helped. I stared at the screen longer than I expected. She knew. This whole time, she knew what was happening. She just stayed quiet. Until now. And I realized maybe my decision wasn't just for me. Maybe choosing myself gave someone else permission to do the same. Before I left town, I sent one final message to the family group chat. I renamed it. This bank has permanently closed. Try loving instead. Then I hit leave chat. As I drove out of town, car packed to the roof, music shaking the windows and wind in my face, I smiled. I was alone. But for the first time ever. That wasn't punishment. It was peace. It's funny how quiet your world gets when you cut out the people who never actually heard you. After I moved, changed my number, and blocked every last one of them, the silence wasn't loneliness. It was freedom. No more. Can you just cover this one thing? We need help just this once. You're so good with money, could you? No more guilt bombs disguised as check-ins. No more names lighting up on my phone only when their bills came due. They were gone. And not just gone, cut off. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't financially tethered to someone else's recklessness. I was surviving on my own terms. I found a new apartment. Nothing fancy. Just mine. My couch. My rules. My budget. A fridge filled only with things I actually liked. The first night I slept there, I left my phone on Do Not Disturb. Not because I feared a call. But because I finally knew there wouldn't be one. And let me tell you. There's a kind of healing that lives in silence. In not having to defend your boundaries. In not having to justify your right to peace. In finally realizing. You're not being harsh. You're being free. Of course, they tried. New numbers. Voicemails from unknown. A burner Instagram account that messaged me. Come home. We're family. Enough is enough. I actually laughed out loud. Enough is enough? You mean when you voted to rob me? When my father told me I owed more because I didn't have kids? When Jason tried to hack into my bank account the day after saying he'd changed? No. Now, enough isn't a plea. It's a boundary. And it's one they'll never cross again. And then I started therapy. I told my therapist everything. She didn't even bat an eye. Just nodded and said, "We're taught to believe that love needs to be earned through sacrifice." That statement stuck with me. Because that's exactly what it was. They had me convinced that if I wasn't giving something, I wasn't worth a thing. If I didn't pay, I wasn't part of the group. If I didn't sacrifice something, money, time, peace of mind, they wouldn't even pretend to love me. That's not how family should behave. That wasn't love, it was control. And I got out of it. People ask me about it now. Do you regret cutting them off? They say. No, not even for a second. I only regret not doing it sooner. I regret every birthday party I helped fund where I wasn't even invited. I regret all the times I canceled my own plans to rush across town because someone's electric bill was overdue. I regret always being the one to remember every cousin's kid's birthday while they completely forgot mine year after year. I regret letting them make me feel like I was the selfish one. No, I don't even flinch when I think about them anymore. They made their choice when they decided I was only valuable when I was useful, not loved. They made their vote. And now, I've cast mine. Unanimously. Cut off. But here's the twist they never saw coming. I'm doing better than I ever did when I was their emotional and financial prisoner. I got promoted. I started traveling. I'm with someone who only asks for my presence and honesty, nothing more. I'm rediscovering hobbies I let go of years ago, just to win their approval. I picked up photography. I'm learning to cook real meals, not just ordering takeout and eating it at my desk at midnight while covering someone else's bills. I adopted a dog. I named her Balance. She's quiet, loyal, and only expects love from me. Honestly, that's more than I can say about most of my relatives. And just when I thought the story was done, I got a text from an unfamiliar number. It simply said, "He's out. We're getting divorced. I wanted you to know." It was Kelly, Jason's now ex-wife. She finally left him. Turns out my brother's little transformation had an expiration date. She later told me he spiraled. Lost his job. Got drunk. Burned through what was left of his savings. She even found out he was still trying to use my old bank info, even after he'd been caught. "You were the only one who saw it clearly," she said. "I didn't believe you before. But I do now." And that's when it really hit me. This wasn't just about cutting them off. It was about refusing to live in their delusion anymore. Sometimes, when you walk away, you're not just saving yourself. You're shining a light for someone else to finally see the truth. I didn't lose a family. I freed myself from a scam. So when people ask, "What happened with your family?" I just smile. And I say, I used to be the one who paid for Christmas. Now, I'm the one who saved myself from it. And I wouldn't trade that freedom for anything. I'm the one who saved myself from it.